Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you how to install ESTEST for versions of our software greater than or equal to 0.9.7. First, let me talk about some things I'm not going to show. I'm currently running Ubuntu version 10.04 LTS, and this is the desktop edition. I'm going to assume that you have a working Apache HTTPD server installed, but if you're curious to how we configure our HTTP server, I'm just going to go ahead and show you our configuration file here. So basically you have to enable the proxy modules and some shared modules as well. But the first thing you want to do related to ESTEST is just to go ahead and download our software that's going to consist of the main software archive and then an additional archive with third-party libraries that I'll show you how to use later. But before we go into that, let's resolve the ExistDB xquery server dependency for ESTEST. So I already have the installer downloaded here, but you can go to the Exist homepage and click the big download link here, and then just get the stable release that's 1.4.0, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to install that. So go ahead and minimize this. So you can see that the installer, the jar file, is saved to our desktop, and the way to start the installer is to go java-jar exist, and then start that, and it's going to launch the interactive GUI installer. And so you just follow what I'm doing. We can install it to a path that's going to be this directory here. Just say yes. We don't need a password for this example, but you would set your administrator password here. Say OK, and then we can select the packages to install. Default is fine. We'll just wait for it to install here. That doesn't take too long. We click next. We don't need shortcuts. Next, and then we're finished installing Exist. What you want to do now is to go ahead and just start your new Exist installation. That's by going to the install directory for Exist. You can type /bin startup.sh, and that's going to start the Exist server, as we're going to need this for later parts of the installation. So if we go back to our desktop, we're going to inflate the ESTEST archives. So that's done with the command tar-xf ESTEST. First inflate the main archive, and typo there. Change directories into the main archive, and then inflate the third-party archive in this directory here. So, and that's going to inflate some files directly into our ESTEST installation. Now to start the ESTEST installation, all you have to do is type make install, and then it's going to go into our interactive set of questions for installation. So answer these with your information. Just going to use our information for this tutorial. So our email is estest.dev@gmail.com. Team ESTEST. What is the domain name for this server? This would be your domain URL, but for this tutorial we'll just use localhost. Where is the ExistDB installation installed? Well, that's here, so we'll just grab the path again here. I'll go back here. What is the port used for the Exist server? The default is 8080, and we'll just leave it that way. Please enter a directory to store temporary user registration files. Well, this is the directory that's going to be used when a user registers and then saves their credentials onto the local file system for further review. We're going to recommend a directory, although this could be any directory. But we're going to recommend that you use www in the ESTEST root directory, www.registration/private cache, and you can see this is just an empty directory. We take that path and use that here. Do you wish to use GPG to encrypt temporary user files? So those will be the files that are stored in this directory. If you want to use GPG to encrypt those, just say no. Do you wish to use the track with this installation? We'll say no. Okay, so now we're ready to initialize the Exist server environment. So go ahead and enter your administrator password. For this tutorial, we don't have one, so we just click enter. And so that process is done. And then, do you wish to use an Apache web server? Well, yes, we do. So say yes. And now we've generated some files from this installer. Mainly, we've generated the post-install instructions. So just to review those, we're just going to skip that part. We've also generated an HTTP include file as well as a configuration Python file. So these instructions are in post-install, but what we need to do now is to just review the sample myconfig file and look over the variable set here, and if they look okay to you, you can go ahead and quit out of that and then copy myconfig.sample.py to .site packages myconfig.py. Okay, now we need to review the sample HTTPD include file. And that's basically going to set up your it's going to set up the exist server as well as the ESTEST server onto the Apache configuration. So go ahead and review that. If it looks okay to you, we can just take this file directly. And we're going to change directories into our Apache HTTPD installation, and we're going to edit the configuration file here. So conf/httpd.conf. So just go to the end and then paste in this file entirely. We see here that it's in our file, and we just save and quit out of that. What we can do now is to start the Apache web server. So you can do that with this command, and that's started. So basically we can go to our web browser and verify that ESTEST has been installed, and the URL you want to point to is localhost/ESTEST. And we see here we have a nice vanilla ESTEST installation. You can go ahead and log on with the admin credential and then create some tests if you like. Just to wrap up our installation tutorial here, we should check some things to make sure that the exist environment was initialized correctly. You can do that by going to the exist installation and then starting up the Java client with this command /bin/client.sh, and then just log in as admin. You're going to see here that we have an ESTEST collection in this exist database. So click on that, and then we want to verify that these three directories are here, that etc. has two files, me.xml and them.xml. Me.xml is going to store meta information about your server, so the server address is localhost and then your email address. Them.xml is what you're going to use to communicate with other ESTEST servers. And so the default one you can communicate with is our ESTEST server at UC Davis, so you can uncomment this and then communicate with us on that level in terms of search and getting files and things like that. You also want to verify that this plugins directory is initialized with this file, plugin.xql, and just make sure that it's there. So this is going to conclude the installation tutorial for ESTEST. Now that you have it installed, you can also run some additional tests with Selenium, and that's going to be another tutorial.